Using a 10mm socket, remove the negative terminal of the battery. Remove the floor panels, the kick panels, and this B pillar on both passenger side and driver side to run the amp wires. So the best spot I found to run the power wire into the vehicle is through this boot right here. It's on the floor of the vehicle. I tried several different ways through the engine compartment, and this seemed like the best and easiest way to go. So, cut a small slit in the rubber boot. Push the power wire through. Run the power wire to the amp's location where you will mount it. I temporarily zip tie this piece so I don't pull it out into the engine bay. And run the power wire underneath the vehicle into the engine bay. I use this loom tubing to look more factory, and I zip tied it along the factory harnesses. So pull the power wire up and around this area. Keep it away from any moving parts. Go ahead and zip tie it along the factory other harness over to where the battery is at. Leave it at the battery for now. We need a switch ignition wire to turn the amplifier on, so we're going to tap into this fuse right here. What I have here is a Busman Addy circuit. It's the ATR fuse type. Make sure to add a secondary 10 amp fuse. Strip the wire back about 1/4 of an inch. And twist the wires together. Crimp on a red butt connector. Plug it back into the same slot you took the fuse out of, and crimp on the remote wire that was included in your amplifier kit. Run this wire neatly down the dash and zip tie it in place. Run this wire down to where the power cable is and run those two cables down the side of the vehicle to where the amp will be located. I cut out a piece of MDF wood that is roughly the same size as the amplifier. I'm going to put this underneath the carpet so my amp can bolt down into it. Test fit the piece to make sure it fits correctly. So now we're going to tap into the speaker outputs of the vehicle. We are doing this because we have a factory stereo, and in order for the amp to have RCA level in, we have to convert it from high level to low level. So this LOC, line out converter, will do that for us. First, we're going to prep the LOC. The LOC usually has 5 wires. And RCA outputs. So this white wire with a stripe is a left negative speaker input wire. The white solid wire is the left positive speaker input wire. The gray with a stripe wire is the speaker wire right negative. The solid gray is the speaker right positive input. These are all input wires. This brown wire is used if there's noise in the system. So these are posi taps. We will use these to tap into the speaker wire outputs of the vehicle. The gray side taps into the wire of the vehicle. The red side goes into the speaker inputs on your LOC. Since we're using a subwoofer, we can use a mono signal. We will tie the solid white and the solid gray together and tap into the positive side of the speakers in the vehicle. So twist the red part onto the wires and make sure a little bit of the wire sticks out. Twist on your posi cap. Test your wires to make sure they don't come out. Now take your white with a stripe and your gray with a stripe and put the posi tap on it. Check to make sure it's secure. So 2 solids together and 2 stripes together. A subwoofer is mono, so we don't need to tap into both left and right of the vehicle. Lastly, cap off your brown wire. Let's now take the LOC into the vehicle. So this is the passenger pillar, the B pillar. It's right behind the seat. The positive is white. It's pin 7. Take the 2 solid wires of your LOC, which are gray and white, and connect into this white positive wire. The negative wire is blue with the black stripe. It is pin 16. In this video, I'm using the blue posi taps. You can use blue or red. The difference in color indicates different gauge sizes to use with them. Either red or blue will work though. You can also use T-taps, which are more commonly available at AutoZone. I just trust the connection of these posi taps better. If you want, you can tape up the wires for a more professional appearance and zip tie the LOC in a place where it won't interfere with any moving parts. Plug in your RCA outputs into the LOC. Here I use double-sided 3M sticky tape to adhere it to the inside of the area. Now, run your RCAs down the area here and around to the side where the amp will be. This carpet easily pulls up so you can run the wires perfectly neat. Use zip ties along the way. Put the carpet back when you're ready. If you have an aftermarket stereo, the installation is actually easier. Your aftermarket stereo has a remote wire output. It's a blue with a white stripe. Connect that to the remote wire output that you got from your amp kit. Also, your aftermarket stereo has RCA pre-outs. Plug them into the rear or subwoofer of the aftermarket stereo. Then run that to your amplifier's area. Take a TX50 socket, Torx, and remove the seatbelt bolt. Here we will ground the amplifier. Make sure to sand down the area first for a best ground connection. Insert the ring, the metal bar, then the bolt in, and screw it down. I'll run speaker wire from the amplifier's location back to the trunk area where the subwoofer will be at. Now, let's make the connections at the amplifier. Strip back a ½ inch off the power wire. Do this in the outside of the vehicle. The strands can get in the carpet and create a mess. Insert the power wire into the area where it says 12 volt in or B+, or constant. Some amplifiers will look different than others. Tighten down the terminal to secure the power wire. Now, strip the ground wire back in ½ inch. Twist the wire and insert it into the area where it says ground and tighten down the screw to secure the wire. Now, take a remote wire, strip it back a ½ inch, and insert it into the area where it says remote or REM. Tighten it down to secure the wire. Next, strip back your speaker wires and insert them into the amplifier outputs. Check with your amp manufacturer or your subwoofer manufacturer to determine the best way to wire this. Insert the positive wire into the positive terminal and the negative into the negative. The way this is wired can vary greatly depending on how you're wiring your subs to your amp. 4 ohm load, 2 ohm load, series, parallel, so make sure you have that correct. Now, plug in your RCAs to the input section of your amplifier. Screw down the amp into the wood piece and make your wires look nice and neat with zip ties. You can also use Tessa tape to make the wires more hidden. Plug the speaker wires from the amplifier into your subwoofer box. Now, let's connect the power wire to the battery. Remove the barrels from the fuse holder. Put the barrel on the power wire. Strip the power wire back about 1/4 to ½ inch. I kind of use a technique where I cut around the insulation. These power wires can be pretty thick sometimes. Twist the power wire together. Unscrew the fuse holder and insert the power wire into this area. Slightly push a power wire into that area while tightening it down for a secure connection. Sometimes you'll notice a small ring in that little area. That is if you have an 8-gauge wire. Here, we're using a 4-gauge, so we do not need it. Twist the cap back on to the fuse holder. take your power wire with the ring side, insert the barrel over it, and push the power wire into the connector. Slightly press downwards with your hand while tightening it down for a secure connection. Tighten the barrel down. Remove the cover from the positive terminal, remove the bolt, put the ring down and put the bolt on top of the ring. Then tighten it down. It's a 10mm socket. Reinstall the negative terminal and tighten it down. Make sure the power wire with the fuse holder is secure with zip ties. Now test the vehicle to make sure all the functions work of your amplifier. Set your amplifier's gains with the low pass filter at 80 Hz for a good starting point.